So I'm just going to read a bio from her. So she's a lifelong, by Dr. Elizabeth Evans, MA. She's got an MBBS Hons. Lifelong Christian, wife and mother of 4 children aged 15 to 22 years. Her training and degrees, medical sciences and physiology from Gonville and, is it Chaos College, Cambridge University. Clinical medicine at Imperial College London. She's a former NHS doctor, practiced as a doctor for a few years, then deregistered and moved into complementary medicine. And she is the co-founder of CEO of UK Medical Freedom Alliance, so some of you will know this anyway, set up in October 2020. We're a group of healthcare professionals, scientists and lawyers campaigning for an individual's right to informed consent, bodily autonomy and medical choice to be upheld in all circumstances. UK MFA are the leading UK voice on medical ethics and have written over 60 open letters to policy and decision makers, regulators and government. So I'm just going to play, I know that obviously she's dealt with a lot of propaganda that's gone on in schools, so I'm basically just going to play this short video for you before we get on to the next mum. So I hope I can do this right. Please work.
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I want to say a huge thank you to Kim and her team for inviting me to speak at this important conference. I'm sorry I can't join you in person, as I'm up in Edinburgh today doing a presentation at the Scottish People's COVID Inquiry. So I've recorded this short presentation to alert you to an insidious power grab by the state, who is seeking to usurp a parent's rightful place regarding their children's healthcare decisions. So I am a former NHS doctor who now works in complementary medicine. My strong Christian faith underpins my belief in the sanctity and dignity of every human life. I have been a passionate campaigner on health and ethics for well over a decade. In October 2020, I co-founded the UK Medical Freedom Alliance to challenge unethical COVID policies. We campaign on issues relating to medical ethics. And here I am with some of the People's Vaccine Inquiry team in September 2022, delivering an open letter to the Prime Minister Liz Truss, calling for a halt to the COVID vaccine rollout to children.
Yay.
So the state is threatening parental authority over healthcare decisions for their children in several ways, including the increasing medicalisation of schools as a setting for public health measures. The NHS has been directing propaganda and fear-mongering at children. And the NHS is even seeking to deal directly with children, cutting parents out of the picture. So first, let's look at the increasing medicalisation of schools as a setting for vaccination and other public health measures. Most of us will have received 1 or 2 vaccines at school, usually given by the school nurse who knew you. However, as a parent of 4 children, I have personally witnessed a marked increase in visits to schools by NHS vaccination teams over the last few years, and a marked increase in the number of vaccines offered. Schools should be a place to deliver education to a child, not healthcare. It's not an appropriate place to administer vaccines, especially by medical professionals who don't know the individual children or their medical histories. A child's own GP or practice nurse are far better placed to perform this role. Giving vaccines in a school inevitably compromises confidentiality and privacy. Pupils are acutely aware which children in their class have not taken a particular vaccine, which can be a source of great stress and shame for the unvaccinated. Without their parents for support and protection, children are highly susceptible to peer pressure and the opinions of their teachers, feeling under pressure to follow the crowd. The use of Gillick competence, which allows a child under 16 to consent to vaccination in the absence of parental consent, is a serious concern and open to abuse. All these factors create a coercive and unsafe environment that is completely inappropriate for medical treatment. So is this for the benefit of the children, or is there a hidden agenda? In January last year, we discovered this disturbing policy briefing from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine on school-age immunisation services in England, known as SACE, lobbying for the increased use of schools to promote and meet vaccine targets. This briefing calls for all schools to be required by law to support SACE in their vaccine delivery, including providing space on site, a dedicated staff member, access to parent data, dissemination of material, and even allocated time in the curriculum. And this to be enforced by Ofsted and local authorities, which is highly coercive. Schools must retain their independence and be allowed to make autonomous decisions as to whether they wish to be involved in state-run public health programmes, based on their assessment of what is in the best interest of the children in their care. I'm sure you will not be surprised to learn that this hijacking of schools is being driven by powerful vested interests. On digging deeper, we discovered that the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, who produced the briefing, is closely linked with the Vaccine Confidence Project, the VCP. And the funders and partners of VCP include pharmaceutical companies, such as Merck, AstraZeneca and GlaxoSmithKline, who stand to profit from any increase in vaccine uptake. Therefore, the briefing is not a neutral document, but is funded by powerful vested interest whose business models involve getting needles into the arms of as many children as possible. With schools being given an active role in both promoting and delivering the vaccination programme, the line between education and indoctrination is blurring. The policy briefing advocates for the teaching of accurate information and providing appropriate educational materials that promote vaccine confidence. In other words, children being taught what to think and not how to think. And indeed, teaching on vaccines and vaccine ideology creep into many parts of the curriculum, from nursery to A-levels. There are thousands of vaccine learning resources online for teachers and schools. I found a book on vaccines aimed at babies, a reading comprehension on the rise of the anti-vaxxers, a biology lesson task to create a leaflet for a doctor's surgery to encourage vaccination, and a biology lesson discussion on whether we are morally required to get vaccinated. Whether you are for or against vaccination, I hope you agree that this material is powerful corporate propaganda and should therefore have no place in a school. Over the last 5 years, we have witnessed the extreme power and influence of the pharmaceutical industry. Vaccinating all healthy children is a lucrative business model. With such powerful vested interests lobbying for more and more access to our children, it is surely time to draw a line and take all healthcare out of schools and back into general practice where it belongs. We have even seen incentivisation and advertising of vaccines directly to children, involving the healthcare system and pharmaceutical companies working together for mutual benefit. In June 2020, the NHS ran this superhero COVID vaccine advert, directly targeting children aged 5 to 11 years. Although sent to their parents, the poster directly addressed children and was designed in the style of a children's party invitation, with cartoon superhero branding, large writing, eye-catching colours, and bright advertising slogans. For the NHS to be directly targeting young children under 12 to encourage them to take a novel medical treatment and in such a coercive way is completely abhorrent. This approach is not reserved for COVID vaccines. On the left is a flyer for a GP practice's annual Peppa Pig flu clinic, with promises of party food, soft play and other kids' activities as a fun setting to receive their flu vaccine. And in 2025, the unethical practice continues. This vaccine promotion on the right was sent to parents, offering them a £10 gift voucher in exchange for making an appointment for their child to have a flu vaccine. This is in complete violation of laws on informed consent, which outlaw coercion. And this appalling case was reported just last week. Moderna was fined the paltry sum of £44,000 by the regulator for offering teddy bears and certificates to children who enrolled in their COVID jab trial, which breached 4 clauses of the Association of British Pharmaceutical Industries Code of Practice. And finally, we come to the NHS seeking to deal directly with children, bypassing parents altogether. We were horrified to learn that the NHS is now sending letters directly to children by post. This letter was sent to a child about to turn 13, informing them that they can now make their own health decisions, including making appointments or seeing a doctor or nurse alone. If you have a quick read, I'm sure you will be as outraged as we were at the content. And this letter is the worst example of NHS overreach we have seen. It was sent by a GP practice for the attention of a 10-year-old child and shared with us by their concerned parent. I'll give you a moment to have a look at it. I'm sure you will agree that no child should be subjected to direct approaches from a GP practice regarding their medical care. It is deeply sinister. These letters raise several red flags and serious safeguarding concerns. Firstly, it is completely unacceptable for any adult to contact other people's children or attempt to involve them in adult processes and decisions. To suggest that a child of 10 shares their personal contact details or travels alone to the practice to fill in forms that they surely won't fully comprehend is surely a child protection issue. Stating that the child's wish for confidentiality would always be respected unless there is a risk of serious harm is very alarming. The secrecy of communications between the child and GP practice would be a red flag in all other interactions between a child and unrelated adult. Removing parents' details from the child's record and requiring a child to opt in to consent to parental involvement means parents could find themselves unable to access medical care for their child. It is obvious that children under 16 don't have the skills or knowledge to make complex medical decisions alone, without parental support and input. The burden of responsibility of making their own health decisions in secrecy would cause huge stress and anxiety. The UKMFA sent an open letter to the managing partner of Unity Health, who sent the letter to the 10-year-old in February last year. This letter is published on our website. We asked her to respond as a matter of urgency to the safeguarding concerns raised, but to date we have had no response. It is unclear whether this sort of practice is confined to a few rogue GP practices and NHS trusts, or whether it is a more established national NHS policy. But it should be a massive wake-up call to parents. It is abundantly clear that our children are being targeted in a predatory way and need our protection. This constitutes a direct attack by the state through the NHS on the family, threatening the right of parents to make healthcare decisions for their own children. The UK Medical Freedom Alliance advocate for the implementation of the following guidelines. Firstly, medical discussions, decisions and interventions for children should only happen in the privacy of a consultation with their own GP or practice nurse. And secondly, that child should always be accompanied by a parent. The healthcare professional should discuss risks and benefits in an open and non-coercive way, and the decision made by parents should be accepted and respected. We have a moral and ethical duty as a society to protect children from harm and exploitation. Parents must stand firm and protect their children from the nanny state and big pharma interests. Thank you for listening, and please do visit our website to explore our work and campaigns. And we are always grateful for donations, however small, which help us to continue to fight for you and your children's right to informed consent and medical choice. Thank you.